What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Temple Talk. Welcome back. What's up, everybody? You know it's me, it's your boy John McLeod. I am excited to be in the building with you. We have an amazing talent. If you know anything about Temple Talk, you know that we get deep not just on the amazing people in the world, but how they found God and with the amazing people that are doing awesome things for God and doing awesome things in the world. You're going to learn something. You're going to pull away so many different gems from this one, like you do with everyone. But this one is a little special because this guy, he's in the community. He's all about mind, body, and spirit. And I'm telling you, the guy is just a beast. Get your notepads, get the gems ready. This guy, when you saw it on the screen, my man Austin is gonna come in here. But before we do that, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe because man, we need the YouTube algorithm to know that we're shedding some amazing love in the form of education. Not traditional education, but life and spiritual education. The thing that everybody needs. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Share this with somebody. Make sure you're following us on Facebook. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, man. I'm telling you, and even on TikTok. Follow us on TikTok. But without further ado, I want to make sure we give this brother some time to get in. He is awesome. Has been awesome from the jump since the moment I met him. His spirit just he and I just clicked from jump. His demeanor, he's been a solid dude from the beginning. I don't want to hold it too long. I'm gonna bring in my brother, my homie. Make sure he gets unmuted too. My man Austin. Austin, what's up, man?
What's going on, John? Great to be here.
Look, man, thank you so much, man. This right here is something that I cannot. I look, man. We've been anticipating this conversation for a while now. My man Austin has been so patient and so and forgiving. I've been changing schedules on him, man, like the weather, man. I just he's been real cool. And Austin, man, thank you so much for your time and just for coming in here and just sharing a little bit of your story because it's one of the things that I want people to go away and learn a whole bunch about you, but also for you to bestow upon them some of the things that you've learned in ministry, in life, all these things. Welcome in Austin Nieves. Austin, let's talk get right to it. Talk to us about what you do and how you found God.
Oh, that's a big question, John. What do I do? What do I do? I serve. I serve. That's the first answer that comes to mind.
Let's go.
And I I live by this small creed that says where there's the biggest need is the biggest opportunity to serve. And I think that this is important because people get so caught up in, and myself included, get caught up in these very earthly things that we do. I'm this by trade, or, I am this quality, or I am this attribute. And we forget that sometimes that those are secondary to what our actual purpose really is. And, but for me, just being able to talk to God and to have that kind of relationship, I've learned, or has been revealed to me rather, that I'm here to serve not only myself and the Lord, the Lord and then myself, but also others. And the way that I have been called to do that is through my profession, and that would be a personal trainer. And that's something that I wish I wasn't so overlooked. We're so much more than the things that we do and the qualities that we are. And I I don't ever take that lightly. So if I can somehow make a positive impact, through to somebody through my work, then I know that that purpose has been served and that it's a job well done. So that being said, I'm a full-time personal trainer by trade. Um, I currently work over at Lifetime Athletic in Florham Park, New Jersey. I'm a co-owner and operator of Boss Life Athletics, a personal training calisthenics studio, and also the founder and originator of our prospective nonprofit, The Human Race, which aims to give back to communities for the betterment of everyone. Um, So that's just a little bit about me, what it is that I do. And as far as your second question, how I came to find God, we're looking really back in the archives for this one, John. I'm going to be honest with you. I you know, the belief in God was something that was passed down through my heritage. I grew up in a Hispanic household. My dad is Puerto Rican and my mom's Ecuadorian, and they grew up closely with the Catholic faith. And he was always referred to as Papa Dios, which is Father God in Spanish. And so that was always something that we knew, not to make him upset, not to do something that would hurt him or to make him cry, as my parents put it to us in our youth. And I soon learned that what they meant was God, and that was always just some central tenet, some belief, some calling in my heart that I knew that was important to serve. And it wasn't until my later life that I really began to know him and to understand him, and in the ways that he revealed himself to me, to where I am now, 26 years later, um, to have the kind of relationship that I have with him, and probably the best relationship that I've ever had with him. We can get into more specifics there, but I think that's a good a good general description of how it came to all really be.
Now I love that because in that is so many experiences, so many different experiences that fortified your relationship, as we often do this with people. You can call somebody a best friend not because you get along with them, but more so because of the experiences that they've been there for and been with you for. And we think about our relationship with God, and reason why he is the best friend is because he not only had our back before we even had a back, he had our back through all of those situations, and all of those the issues we may have had, all of the problems. There he was. All of the mistakes we made, the times we turned our backs on him, he never turned his back on us. And when you're talking about that experience of getting it, starting the relationship when you were younger, and then it being fortified later in life, I think that's something that a lot of us, we can relate to.
Yeah, I would agree. A best friend, it has earned that title, right? It's not something that's just given to somebody because you decided you needed a friend that day. And that title's earned through these experiences. And I can't think of anybody but my own self who's been with me through every experience other than God. And so not that he needed to earn anything, because he's omnipotent, he knows everything. But you know for my own personal acceptance and embrace of that relationship, comes with the recognition that every experience I've ever had, good, bad, happy, sad, positive, negative, whatever, um, he's been there through. And the most amazing part is, John, is that he knew that it was all going to happen, and knew that I needed to endure these things to shape me into the person that I am today. So, to it's humbling to know that there is no other person or other being aside from myself and God who's been with me through every experience. And it's overwhelming, and even further humbling, that there are experiences he knows I'm going to have that I don't yet know. And that devout trust in that, to continue to make him my best friend, so to speak, the term that we're using right now, is nothing more than just faith, that whatever experience I'm going to have that I don't yet know, he does. And you have to trust that, in order to be able to, endure and further embrace what you're going to soon experience in life, no matter what that is.
No, I think that's phenomenally said, because a lot of times we get caught up in not just our abilities, is something we were speaking about earlier, but we get caught up in our track record. And if we haven't gone through it, sometimes we make the mistake of thinking that, oh, this doesn't exist or this can't happen because it's not something we've gone through. But you said something incredibly powerful and something that keeps us alive and keeps us going. He already knows what's about to happen before we do. And it's the
Hmm.
trust. All right, you trust your best friend. You trust your best friend to be able to have your back in all situations. And a lot of times, if you talk about our earthly best friend, they look out for you even when you may be blinded by your own emotional intent,
Hmm.
and they watch out for you regardless. And they sometimes they disagree with what you're doing, even though you have so many justifications as to why you need to do X. And they're like, well, I don't know if that something's not right. And they're your best friend because they're there to tell you the truth and say,
Hmm.
look, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't look right. This is wrong. This is right. I think you should go here. And it's that kind of relationship. When you build that kind of relationship with God, about saying, like, you know what, like, come hell or high water, I'm trusting you and I'm sticking with you. You start to become that which you join yourself with. You start to blend together and start thinking, not, and I'm very specific when I say this, not as a God, but like God. And
Yeah.
there's difference in mentality about that, because people like to take that and misconstrue it and mix it up. No, you start to become like God in being more humble, more loving, more caring, service. The first thing off the top you said that I absolutely love was service. And now thinking of, when I'm speaking of the term service, you have serviced the community in some incredible ways. Can you go into that, and let's start off with your nonprofit, the Human Race, and how that came about.
Oh man, I have a lot that I want to say. Um, I let me start off with your question first. Um, how the human race came to be. So I was called to action, and so service has always been something I'm always something that I wanted to do. And I think that this will like that the where I arrived to in life will make sense with just a little bit of backstory. Um, I always wanted to be a doctor, specifically a psychiatrist, because my I thought my calling then was to be able to help people who were enduring mental health crises. And so everything that I chose to do was, or how I developed my demeanor, um, and my disposition and my career path was in in pursuit of being in that role of service to be able to help someone. And somewhere along the line, I discovered that my career path and my ambitions were misaligned. And I no longer wanted to do psychology anymore. So I turned towards fitness because it was something that was personally impacting my life and changing the trajectory of my life in real time, as I was, struggling with the weight of this decision that I was going to give up my blooming career in psychology to pursue fitness. Um, and I remember coming to the realization that you can still be of service just through a different vehicle, and this is how, and this is, through fitness. So um, you know, I turned around. I got certified. I started working, as a personal trainer, and keeping myself well. And when 2020 happened, and there was a lot of turmoil going on in the country, specifically, civil rights and racial turmoil going on in our country through the murder of George Floyd. I was called to action because I was watching these people being mobilized in the name of, you know redemption and solidarity for this person who represented all of us. He was more than just a man, as we all are. We're representative of one another, and the power of these people, so impassioned by correcting a wrongdoing that was, forced on the community, moved me. And I remember thinking to myself, Austin, you have this idea. You have this idea. You want to take action over something, and you can't do that sitting here watching TV. And, as trite as it might sound, I remember thinking to myself, when you're asked about this significant time in history, where are you going to say that you were?
Mm.
On at home watching it on TV like other people, or are you going to go and do something about it? And so was born this idea that I dubbed the human race. It was I was driving with my brother, and it hit me like a bolt of lightning. I was like, I know what I want to do. I'm a runner. I love to run. It's a release for me. It's therapy. It's all of the above for me. And I decided that what I was going to do was run a marathon, and this marathon was going to be symbolic in the way that I wanted to unite people um, through this experience, and I was going to run through, 9 or 10 different towns within my community in this one big loop that was supposed to symbolize us all working together to create a brighter future in order to drive out evils like prejudice and racism and the effects that come as a result of that. And I had no other term um, to call it than the human race, it because I felt like I was speaking up for not just this one person, and may he rest in peace, but all these other people also who are feeling these types of things every single day. People who are marginalized, people who feel like they struggle, and it started off um, as this pursuit to find racial and civil justice that ended up turning into a cause for for everyone. When you're struggling, or when you feel like you've been oppressed or marginalized, or have like experienced some sort of diaspora, um, how can we begin to find commonalities between all of us and share experiences and learn to unpack that trauma and that struggle through the experiences of ourselves, shared experiences of ourselves and others, and find things that are common with us than different, and not use those differences as ammunition for argument or resent or embitterness or whatever, but rather use the similarities as the fact that we all are here connected on this earth through a shared human experience. And when we can start to recognize and empathize the feelings behind those experiences rather than the facts of the experiences themselves, we're in a better position to be able to relate to one another and create a future. So for the how can I put this? The rage that was on my heart at the time slowly started to dissipate into something more like, I have to put that aside for myself, because if I'm supposed to be giving this message, how can I do that with, burden sitting on my own heart? Um, and so I had to realize that I had to put my own differences aside and the things that I was enduring aside, so to open up a space for other people to feel empowered to do the same. And so the way I decided to express that was through this run that I thought, linked or symbolically linked all of our towns together. And when that went off successfully, thanks be to God, it turned into other service work starting within my community, using health and fitness as the primary vehicle, um, with of course running just being the start. Um, so in so many words, the human race is my perspective nonprofit that I use in order to be a vessel of service for all communities, but starting with my own, because that's where home is for me.
That is wow. That is absolutely incredible. You, in the midst of the world's pain, here you come with not just medicine, a band-aid, and you know some wrapping tape, some medical tape. You came with a whole idea, a whole action plan, because you took action on it, and you took it to the community, but you didn't give it to anybody else. You did it yourself. So now let's dive in there a little bit. You said you
Mhm.
went through how many towns, and how long was this run?
So a marathon is traditionally 26.2 miles. Um, Me and a couple of other friends ended up running just over 27 that day. And we ran through, I believe, 9 different towns, starting in my hometown of Dover, and then going through uh, one town after another through like this shared route. And in my mind at the time, like I said, it was a way to symbolically link us all together. Um, and it ended back in my hometown, as you know, and it was just a way to bring awareness and recognition to folks have who have been dealing with pain on their heart, you know, and the evil that comes from the way we exploit our differences in one another. And if I could somehow, in some way, begin to dissolve that barrier and bring, you know, different parties with differing views, knowing that there was some kind of hurt between them, and getting people to start to begin to see past that in a way that was constructive, that
Yeah.
there could be hope for people, at least one person, to continue forth with that message and start doing work for themselves. And I'm not ignorant here, John. I know that one action, no matter how much time and effort it took, isn't going to cure the world of evil. But what I do know is that on that day, we had a day of peace, which is more than could be said for some other days.
Yeah.
And what I'm hoping is that one person walked away feeling empowered by that, and is now walking with that spirit on their heart, and hoping that they can somehow change the world through, you know, touching one more individual person, because it's a collective effort. So, you know, I knew that I wasn't going to just turn evil off, but what I did know is that if I could at least give this message to somebody, and they could continue and perpetuate it themselves, then it was a job well done, and it was a victory.
Just absolutely phenomenal, man. Like, I just want everybody to take a moment to look at some of the photos on the screen of the actual run here, and I know some of the faces in these photos that came to support him as he did something astronomically phenomenal, and that is put his own life out there for change, so that people can see that, hey, I'm out here running for all of you. I'm out here running for all of our lives, to stop and say, you know what? I'm going to show you today how much I love you by taking action, by moving, by literally putting myself on the line. And I think just that ability, just being able to do that, is just it's incredible, man, because it's not easy. It's not easy to do what you did, bro. It's not easy to be able to say, like, I'm gonna not just execute on this idea, but I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with it. Literally, I'm literally going to run with the idea, and I'm just going to take things and show the world that there can be peace and that we're willing to do this. Now, you said, subsequent things happened after this. Can you go into it, because this run then transitioned you into a bunch of community work. And one of the things as believers that we are to do is to go into the community and show love and to help and to lend a helping hand. And that ultimate word that we keep saying that I love, serve, to give service. Can you talk about the community service and the things that you've done in the state of New Jersey?
Yeah, yeah, I would love to. Um, the service really starts with self. um, it's difficult to be able to want to change others or to influence others in a positive way if you yourself
That's
are
right.
not secure, or actualized in that way. And and I'm not saying that this is like some coveted status or anything, but you do need to do the work and really figure out who it is that you are and what it is that you want to do, and align yourself with with those divine with that divine spirit.
Yes.
And that's accessible for anyone. All you need to do is simply pray and meditate, and ask for the answers, and they'll be there. So it's not difficult to find, but you have to be willing to look for it. And I knew that when I was making this decision, and it was divinely given to me, that it was a message that I had done enough work to be able to earn the privilege of giving my truth to outward. So, it really had started with this whole personal journey of making sure that I was in a space to put myself through those difficult times and put myself on the line, because I knew that once the pain started to happen and all these different things that, these different experiences that were truly suffering in some ways, that I was secure in my why, in my reasoning, in my purpose, that what I was doing was the right thing. And so when I had that, that's when really the community had started to come into place. And so you just kind of take that belief, or that, what's the word I'm looking for? That idea, right? That this ideology of self, and taking it one step further. Okay, now that I'm right with me, how can I start to affect all of the people directly within my circle with whom I have the most influence? So that became friends, family, that became, loved ones, and things like that. And once they were a part of the message, how can I then take that a step further and then bring this to my community, my home, where I grew up, because I'm indebted to these people. They helped raise me. It takes a village, right? So how can I start to pay back some of that, some of that service that made me who I am? And that's where really the community work came from. And while the human race was always designed and thought of as, a way to raise funds to be able to make an impact on the community, it really ended up taking on a life of its own, in the fact that of how many people were touched by it. And it wasn't just, a simple donation and kind of like you wipe your hands clean and I did my work. There was all this other process that had to come into place. So after the run, I had continued to raise money, for this project that we had. My business partner Lavogue, shouts out to him, um, and my best friend, honestly. And you know, we began to take on this project of bringing exercise, fitness to our community, because our belief was that fitness was a great vehicle for people to start asking themselves the questions, so that they can learn the lessons necessary to figure out who they are. And I don't mean that in again, I don't mean that in a superficial way. Like,
Yeah.
you challenge yourself every single day with whatever workout you have, finding your new potential, finding how much you can endure, finding out what your body and what your mind are truly capable of. And once you have that, and once you learn that, being able to take that and apply it to everything else that you do. So fitness was such a powerful vehicle for us, and we knew that we were in a position to be able to give that gift to people, so that to be an access point for greater things in their life. So the way we identified, that we could do this, was to be able to help build a community park, free public access community park. Lavogue and I love calisthenics, body weight exercises, and we had been always so inspired by these parks, these pull-up bar parks, and this equipment that all these other towns had, but that our town lacked. So what we ended up doing is that when had finished the human race, we had continued to raise money, enough money to be able to pay for the construction of this park. And we worked with our town and administration and leaders and people who had the power to make this happen, and showed them that we were absolutely serious. So about 8 months later, I guess, 7 months later, we had raised up enough money, and we had this park built as um, as a gift to our community, so that they could use it, to learn more about themselves and to better their own self.
Wow, that's incredible. You ran an entire marathon alone to help raise money to build a park in the very same community you wanted to affect. That is
Yes,
incredible. That is it.
yes.
Man, we got to take a moment. Take a moment.
Thank you.
That's phenomenal, man. I don't know.
Thanks be to God.
Yeah, man. I'm grateful that God used you to do this, because this is an example, folks. This right here is an example of somebody that didn't make any excuses. He looked at his community and said, how can I help? He put on his own sneakers, threw his shirt on, and ran through the city to raise enough money to change his city. Hear that again. He ran an entire marathon solo by himself through 9 different towns so that he could raise enough money to change his city. And that's incredible. And it's by the grace of God that he gave you the strength and all and the understanding to do all those things, to bring all those people together, because it's not something that you can just get up and do. It takes a lot of planning, a lot of process, a lot of unity. Some people, if one or two people don't want to do it, that may slow the whole process down. But you got everybody together to be able to do this one thing and to change the game, and you put your own self on Front Street to make it happen. And I think that's phenomenal. And I wanted to take a moment and thank God for you and just give you your flowers while you're here, because people don't do that often. People
I
run for all those things, but I think it's phenomenal, man.
I appreciate that, John. And I would be remiss if I didn't, just make a quick correction that it wasn't entirely by myself. I had a lot of loved ones who were behind me, and really close friends who either ran with me or biked with me. Lavog being one of them, my brother, a really close friend who's basically my brother, and just all of these people who came out to, I think we had a crew of 7 who were just inspired enough to want to take that journey with me. And I would further remiss if I accepted all of this praise without first acknowledging my higher power, my God, my creator, who used me as a vessel of service for that. You know, I I truly mean it when I say that I just want to be a servant, for him and through him, because I know that so long as I continue to do what's asked of me and to continue to serve and to put myself in a position where I can be a servant, that I can't I can't do any wrong. I may make mistakes, and that's just the human in me, but God will always correct my path.
That's right.
Um, you know, Proverbs 3 verses 5 to 6 say, lean not on your own understanding, but trust in God with your all your faith, and he will make your path straight.
That's right.
And and that is something that always sticks with me, because in it says that acknowledges that your understanding is powerless, right? Like we're clouded by our very real emotions and judgment and just all these other things that make us human. But so long as we lean on the Lord, even if our paths are somehow crooked or blocked or just a dead end, that he will continue to make a way. And there may be things in that path that we don't like. It might be scary, it might be dark, it might be super intimidating, but you have to endure those things with devout faith and just trust that so long as you keep doing what you're doing, on the days that it really sucks, to have to endure those things, on the other side is grace, is enlightenment, is progress, is change, is you know divinity, and you've earned the right to be able to speak those things and to put those things into existence, because you've trusted in him and have paid the penance necessary to be able to do that. And so when I reflect back on this race and the massive good that came with it, is a reminder that even during the hardest times of that experiences that I still have, that we all still have, in difficult seasons of life, that on the other side of that is completely worth it, because of the revelation that we get for having gone through those experiences. And that's what makes it all worth it, even if we don't understand it right now, or even if it seems particularly hard at this moment. So the human race really, while in and of itself was this very specific thing that did all of this good, I think is really symbolic of just kind of a greater shared human experience that we all have. Life is a marathon, and there are times where it's going to hurt, and there are times where you're going to want to give up, and having to wake up on every single day and get a training run in is the same as waking up every single day and clocking into work, or finding a new job, or learning how to deal with whatever adversity you have on your plate, so that on the other side you have the tools, the knowledge necessary to be able to make an opportunity for somebody else to thrive, because you you did that for not just for yourself, but for another too. And to be resentful of that, I think, is just um, limiting yourself in your capability. Um, and so I'm just grateful that it went off the way that it did, and the good that it was able to provide. And I would do it all over again, any time of the day.
Let me say this. I thank God for what you did. I think it changed so many lives. I think it's people hearing this now, lives are going to be changed. And you answered the very last question I was going to ask you, and it was a message. And in what you just said, it just encompassed everything. Life is going to be like a marathon. There's going to be days where you don't want to continue, days where you're going to be in pain, days when you want to give up. But there
Hmm.
is something beautiful about making it to the finish line and
Yeah.
knowing that the people that God put around you to support you are more than enough to get you to that finish line, wherever your finish line is.
Yeah.
Man, go ahead. Go ahead. You were gonna say something else, Austin?
No, I was just gonna say absolutely.
Man, let me tell you, I am so grateful and honored. This Temple Talk has been one of the best because that right there just shows the glory and beauty of God, but also just the amazing willpower we can have when we activate and act within God's boundaries. He set you on a path and you just blew straight through it and obliterated all obstacles because you were determined and you went with him first and you trusted him and you were consistent with him. You went with it. And even when it got tough, you still kept running. Running for God, running for your city, running for your family, running for your friends, the ones that were right next to you. And I think that is so phenomenal, man. And I gotta say, I commend you and I'm praising God for you, man, because that is phenomenal.
Thank you. Those words really fill my heart up, John. They do, because a lot of the things that we do for ourselves or for others are often done in silence, and it's easy to believe that people, or just others aren't watching, because it sometimes feels so insular. But when those flowers are given when you're here, it really calls to the just how incredible some of these things are, and just the a small taste of the power that the Lord has. And if I could leave all of our viewers and the people who are going to watch this with anything, it's that we have such a small, like, in the span of the universe and time and space as we know it, we're given such a small amount of time to make an impact. So small that one could argue that nothing that we do really matters. Like, 100 years is nothing compared to 100 billion years, right? So the fact that nothing matters might seem, sort of defeating for people, but for me, and the thing that I really want people to understand, is that should be empowering. We have such a small time, and that's why everything you do matters, because there's not a second to waste. There's not a moment in time that isn't precious enough to be doing something that fulfills the Lord and you first, and can hopefully be given as a gift to everybody else. And so when you're contemplating, you know, whatever difficult season or successful season that you're in, you have to remember that it serves purpose, and how you react to that, can largely determine the course that the rest of your life takes. And when you think back and you reflect on this short amount of time that you were given, did you Do you feel fulfilled? And as human beings, we're created in the image of God. We're given godlike powers. We have the power to create and to destroy and to condemn and to forgive and to choose freely the things that we want to do. So that's a lot of responsibility to be able to hold for people as or beings as flawed as humans. So when we recognize those powers and how closely aligned they are with the unlimited power that God has in those same areas, how do we then use them to act in accordance with the Lord, who's doing the same thing on a much greater scale? So when you have this small time, forgive, don't condemn,
Yes.
create, don't destroy. When you have the power to choose, you know, really embrace that power and realize that like it is a power to choose what you want to do every single day. And if there are things that are just beyond your control, where your godlike powers just don't work in that situation, you always know that you have somebody, a being itself, God, to rely on to help give you that energy, or that that just that awesomeness that you might lack at the time, and know that that's going to be enough, even if it's not on your timeline. Because remember that God doesn't owe us an explanation. He gives it to us because he's gracious, but on his own timeline. And remember, it might seem like 50 years for us, which is a long time, but in the really short, or the long run, it's not really that long of a time. So be still, know that God is listening. And if you're still enough, you too can listen and find the answers that are given, so that you can use your powers and your time wisely, just like he's doing every single day, days on end, for all of time. So if there's anything that I hope that you can take away from this, is that whatever it is that you're thinking about, whatever awesome thing you're thinking about doing, or whatever thing that you're insecure about and thought about doing and have put away, take it back out, polish it up, breathe life into it, choose to create, and get right with yourself and the Lord, so that way those gifts that you wouldn't have acted on otherwise can truly be what they are, gifts, and be given to create positive change and love within the world. And that's
Man,
just how I feel.
no, man, I love it. I love it. I love all of it. I love all of it. You preach it now. So, so I'm loving it. Listen, man, Austin, thank you so much for being a part of Temple Talk, for sharing your story, for going deep, for running the miles to change your city. You all saw the proof. This dude, I told you he was a beast. That right, level stuff. And to the whole team that supported him, we commend you and we're grateful because, man, that combination of you and your team is something that's phenomenal. We wanted to show you love. Thank you so much for being a part of Temple Talk. Thank you, watching at home, for watching Temple Talk, for listening to my brother Austin over here, and just for being a part of. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'm so grateful. Until the next time, where we have somebody just as amazing as Austin, I'm telling you, stick with us, like, comment, and subscribe. I'm John McLeod for Austin Nieves. We'll see you soon the next time on Temple Talk.
Amen.